Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up the Podcast, all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Aadil.
Hey!
And Lucy.
Hi!
Each and every week we get together because we're friends. We want to hang out. Fuck you, listener. No, we love you, really. We're going to drink some beers. We're going to talk about some video games, and we'd love for you to get involved and come and talk to us, please. Let us know what you're playing.
We're more pleasant
as well.
live, I guess, or not on... I don't know how you transition from fuck you to come join us, but you did.
Just like I did.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's open up some beers. Aadil, what are you going to drink this evening?
I'm drinking Here Comes the Sun from Beerbliotek.
Nice.
Ooh,
It is a...
I like Beerbliotek.
Hmm?
I like Beerbliotek.
I know you do. Yeah.
Beerbliotek,
I as well. It's a modern pale ale, hazy, golden, juicy. It's number 264. I don't know if you can see on the tin. There, paley.
Tiny, very
Oh,
thin
Yeah.
text.
Oh, there.
that they won't help, Lucy.
Yeah, you can go and see it. Oh,
The
No,
glasses, the
still
glasses
no.
won't help. Yeah.
and that is indeed all the flavor text. So I will crack this and send it back to you, Ben.
Nice. Yes, I'm going to drink an Arbor beer because I panic bought a bunch of beers around the corner.
You can never panic buy.
But that's
beer.
very true. Yes, I mean, I went around the corner to panic buy some beers, thinking, I'll just pick up something that I've had before, maybe something that hasn't featured on the podcast. And he just had a delivery from Arbor today with a bunch of new beers. So I've got a fridge with at least 4 new beers from Arbor in. Well, actually 3, because one of them's here. And this is Sunset Vista, which is a double IPA. And it's a collaboration with Liquid Light Brewing Company, who I've never heard of before. Little bit of flavour text. It is 8.4%. They do suggest, because it's a pint, that it's a sharing can. But
No.
Kim doesn't enjoy double IPA, so I can't do that.
Yes, that's the excuse.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And my children don't drink, so there we go. Brewed
Yet.
with our friends at...
And there was no
Give it-
way you could
give it 3
possibly have
years.
not purchased it at the time where you
Exactly.
read the label in the shop.
Exactly. I didn't realise it was that percentage. I saw, new beer. I'll have that. Brewed with our friends at Liquid Light Brewing Company, this juicy double IPA features a new American hop variety, Vista, which delivers flavours of honeydew melon, white peach, and papaya. It doesn't tell me any of the other hops in here, just the allergens of barley, wheat, and oats. I don't know if this is a single hopped beer or not. It was canned about 2 weeks ago, roughly. Not quite, but yeah. Almost 2 weeks ago. So, here we go.
Oh, that's a
For
really
everybody on the video.
cool tin.
They're from Nottingham, a good light brewing company.
Hmm.
Have either of you heard of them? Have you had anything from them before?
Nope.
No. Let me see. About us, when they were. 2017.
So
Okay.
reasonably
Yeah, 5 years old.
around.
September
but again,
2017.
if they're a smaller brewery, they're more around kind of Nottingham and that sort of area. They might not have
Made it to
distributed out
us.
into the sort
Yeah.
of the wider kind of scene yet. So always good to, even if it's a collaboration, have someone new.
Yep.
Lucy, you're not drinking beer this week. Have you got anything? Got a measuring jug? Have you got a tea?
No, sadly. Just a...
Oh, wow. I
Fine
can't remember the
glass.
last time I saw you with a standard cup of water.
It means everything's falling apart, that's what it is. I don't have beer and I don't have a watering jug. It's fine.
I mean, it's just like my intro. I'm so tired. It's just like, just whatever comes into my brain at the time. It's fine. Aadil, we'll come back to you for the Bibliotek.
It's pale and hazy, as advertised, as a pale ale that was described as hazy, and I can't remember, juicy I think was one of the things. So yeah, it's like a straw color. I am getting, just lifting it up, there was enough of a waft to get just tropical. And maybe like a slightly tangy citrus.
Okay.
It's very, a very Here Comes the Sun makes sense, because this is a very yes, this smells like summer should.
Oh.
Nice. Looks like a summer beer.
Mm.
Very nice.
As we start to
As
bleed
we
into the depths
barrel
of autumn.
into autumn. Ooh. It's got a nice, more malty, biscuity finish. And the malts are there. I'm now decided to go backwards through the taste because I started with the finish, so I might as well continue. The malts are not as present in the mid, and you have this like nice pale ale, slightly tropical, but really grounded. This is a pale ale with a slightly malty. I wouldn't say backbone. I would say like I don't know, femur, like. And then, but it starts with this like a bit of a burst of that tropical flavor, but it's not huge, it's not as big as the nose, and it just sort of sets a nice tone, and it kind of starts fading immediately into the main taste, and then it keeps sort of going such that the biscuitiness in the maltiness kind of doesn't increase, but because sort of the rest of the taste has a downward trajectory, by the time the finish comes, it feels maltier than the rest of the taste, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Taking you on a journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I am getting a bit more of the pineapple-y note, like the non-acidic part of pineapple, throughout, now that it's been on my palate for a bit. It's really nice. This is like I said, quintessential. Yes, this is... I would never turn this down a day of the summer kind of beer. It's not doing anything crazy off the wall. It's not super strong. It's just solidly a pale ale with interesting notes, and those notes have their own different curves, but they're mostly intertwined. So if you weren't paying attention, you'd just be like, this is a solid beer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Perfect. Back to the Arbor Liquid Light collaboration. Then I have poured quite.
Wow.
A little bit close to the sun. I'm close to the sun with this one. But almost no head when it poured.
I was going to ask if
quite
that was
quite carbonated. Like it bubbled quite a lot. Just didn't produce any kind of head, and it was a reasonably kind of big nose. But that's gone quite quickly. When I cracked the can, it was quite big straight away. But it has faded a little bit. And kind of out of the glass now, what's it been? About 2 minutes, something like that. I don't get a massive amount from it. A little bit of sweet fruit on the nose, but not a huge amount. When I said it carbonated quite nicely in the glass, there's almost nothing on the taste. It's not flat, but it's not kind of crisp. It's not fizzy. It's nowhere sort of near that. It's more towards that flat end, but it has a little bit of lift to it, just a tiny bit that takes it away from what you would expect from a flatter beer. That flavour's really nice though. It's this kind of initial sort of juice and a bit of sweetness, but that almost drops off instantly, and it leads into this kind of more, I think they put on the back, honeydew melon, getting a huge amount of that. It's a little more earthy. It's a little bit more kind of not quite dank, but it's edging towards that sort of way. It's a very kind of ripe honeydew melon. But that sweetness sits just in the background. And it kind of pops out just every now and again. It's like, oh, hey, here I am. Well, I think that's a little bit of the papaya that's kind of coming through on there. I would, if they hadn't have said papaya, I'd have never have picked that out in a million years. But it's, and they say white peach on here as well. And I'm not getting I don't know what white peach is versus just peach. Is it a colour difference? I don't know. Is there a big flavour difference? Not a clue. But I'm getting a slight stone fruit. But actually, and I can pick out now that it is a softer stone fruit, but actually it feels a bit more of a grape flavour. Not strong, but that is maybe what I would have mistaken it for had there have been no flavour text.
I was about to say white peach will taste more grapey, from what I recall. So
Okay. Well, that makes sense then. So yeah, I mean, obviously the flavors that they've got on the back are exactly what it's giving me at the moment. So yeah, big honeydew melon to start. That kind of papaya that sits there and runs all the way through, but he's very, very light. And then that white peach then, or as I thought maybe grape, is sat there more towards the finish perhaps. You could mistake it for having been like dry hopped with Nelson Sauvon or something like that. Maybe you don't get quite the nuttiness that you have with that, but the initial kind of grape and slightly sweet flavour that you have with that, you could think, okay, it's more in the kind of initial sort of nose, which is why it's maybe a little bit more light. I'd be really interested to know what other hops they have in this, if anything. If all of this is just from the Vista, that would be kind of really interesting, because it is a lovely flavour. And it's not big, it's quite light and subtle. Even at the 8.4% that it is, it's not a big beer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes skill to make 8% beer not feel like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think maybe the more I drink, it feels like one of those beers that kind of, I'll get halfway through the glass and it will start to be a little bit more chewy, perhaps a little bit more sticky, and you'll start to feel, actually even now talking a little bit more, I'm starting to get a little bit of that, that it will feel a little bit bigger perhaps, but I'll report on that when we get to the end of the episode. We'll launch into our games chat then for this week, and last week we had a few technical difficulties from Lucy's end, in that we couldn't really hear what she was saying. And there were, a plethora of games that she's played over not just the last week, but I don't think we'd recorded for a couple of weeks, had we, before that? So, yeah. Lucy, you had sort of 2 or 3 weeks, and now, another week on top of games that you've been playing. So I'm going to dub this episode the Lucy episode. And it's just going to essentially...
I've played basically nothing, so that works well for me.
I mean, I worked until 11 last night and played a tiny bit of Crusader Kings 3 in like the background whilst I was like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do some lovely lines and I'll do some writing and stuff. And then just like, just see what's going on in England, the kingdom that I have currently created. And then I go back to my work. So I've played, almost nothing. So Lucy, we will launch into what you've been playing. I know there are a few games that we mentioned last week that listeners may be able to have picked up on. But there's a lot, right?
Yeah, because I think the last game I spoke about, was it in depth? Laughed about rather on the podcast was 12 minutes, and that was literally a month ago. But I mean, I've played several games, and last week I was just trying to run through them because of my internet. But I think I'll probably keep that kind of cadence up and just roll through them. Obviously, speak about the games that I got codes for more so because that's why they give us codes to talk about them.
Yep.
And then anything else you want to talk about.
Oh, there's nothing.
Oh, I want to know slightly more about that game. Let me know.
Cool.
Got a good old spreadsheet.
Nice.
Because I'm in that mood where it's like just playing games. Like I don't know if I have more free time. It's one of those where it's like, do I have more free time, or am I just
you're using whatever time you have
using
to play
it
games
better,
often,
using it in a better way?
Yeah.
But before we jump into the games, again, we're going back maybe a couple of months, and it might be, and I think I might know that maybe the Steam Deck is the reason. But you had a period of time where you were like, I haven't really played very much. I've kind of, I've been trying to hammer work a lot. I've been really busy doing stuff. Nothing's really grabbed me. But suddenly you've gone, I'm playing lots of games. Do you think there's a reason for that more so than like the Steam Deck?
I mean, the Steam Deck's definitely helped that. But I think me and Dill were talking. I think the last time when it was just me and you, Dill, on the podcast, we were just saying like, just not fussed to finish a game, start a game, play a game as soon as it's come out or whatever. But I think, I definitely go through like phases where it's like I don't want to play anything. And it's usually coming off like a really good game and nothing hits good afterwards.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, but when I know that I'm on that crest of that wave, it's like I try and stay there as long as I can, because I know round the corner it's like it's going to just be like 2 months of me not wanting to play anything. So I'm right there on that crest. Who knows?
Okay.
Well, I'm
or not.
definitely not in the mood for games because of all the things that are going on. Has just killed my drive to, even if I'm killing time, to play games. And that basically the Steam Deck came right when I was like definitely in that zone. So I like tacitly played a thing or two because I have a Steam Deck and I've been waiting for ages. And then it's just in its case on my nightstand, as if to say, "Oh, this will be no trouble to do. You could just play a game." But I have not. Yeah, I mean, it's
because when I got mine, I was just like hammered through like 7 games in like a week or something.
I'm sure I'll turn around once I like have a confirmed house and then can like do all the things that are floating in my brain that are like, you can't do this until blah. I'm
That's
now,
certainly a thing.
I'm now in the state where the place that I'm pretty sure I'll get, I can't move into till October 15th, and so my friend / colleague.
You know what? That's only about 3 weeks when you think about it.
Yeah. It's just I have to be. I can't work from here.
Term starts soon, right?
I teach on the 3rd. So that couple weeks is I need to be there, and then there's like department meetings and things which I can't skip. But also that's how I meet the people in the department. And luckily, my friend and colleague who I stayed with last time is like, I get you're in a bind. So, like, you're welcome for as many of those days as you need to be. And I was like, I will come home because
that's nice.
The cat won't deal with me being away for 3 weeks and then a move, for one. And two, you definitely don't need me as, like, a house guest for 3 straight weeks. I'll spend the money that I would have spent on rent, and probably a little more, right, on bouncing back and forth, but at least then I can... Yeah. So, and as soon as, like, I get the place, I then have and sign the paperwork, I then can, like, book a mover, because right now it's not clear that I will have a place to move into on the 15th. And like start changing addresses. So there's like this cloud of things that I cannot do anything with or about, but I can't pretend that they don't exist. And they've just like pushed down on like active enjoyment of life in the sense of like games where you, like I can passively watch a thing because I can just tune out of reality, but a game requires mental effort. And these things are just like, oh yeah, thinking. You know what? You could think about how you're homeless.
To play Vampire Survivors.
That's true. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I have contributed a few minutes to the podcast,
and we thank you for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm just going to list off some of these games. I will. Well, we don't really review or rate games on this podcast, but I'm going to. I'm going to rate it out of 5 stars, because then I don't have to speak about it more, but you know my opinions.
Oh, out of how many stars?
5, just 5 stars.
Okay.
5 out of 5 stars. The best 1 out of 5 stars.
Not 5 out of 7?
No.
Or
that
3.
Would be difficult mathematically. So, As Dusk Falls. This is when I think my audio cut out when I was starting to talk about David Cage. Last week. Yeah, because it's what is it, Quantic Dream people, and it's surprising what they can do when they just want to make like a mid-budget pulpy action film
But it must be about the androids.
It is the Holocaust.
Like, no, fuck off, David.
Just
let's make a game.
Yeah, just it doesn't have to have any deeper meaning or anything like that. It's just popcorn flick. Just play through it. So that kept my attention. I might have smashed it in one day or something. So I'll give that 4 out of 5 stars. It's nice. I'm not trying to say anything deep. It's just kept my attention. It's good. I like that art style. I don't know what you call that. Like,
I don't.
It's like moving image, isn't it? It's kind of.
It's not quite a Haas take on me music video.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I think of.
It is coloured.
But not
that's
in black,
the only difference,
not
isn't
in
it?
black and white, yeah.
But that's one of the games on my list of things I'd really like to get to this year.
It's one of those you could absolutely play with Kim, and I think you'd both really enjoy it.
Nice.
Like, lots of choices. Obviously, I haven't played it, so I don't know if they... I think they do matter, not massively, but I think there are, people can die and stuff like that, so they do matter to such an extent that you can have in those games. It's not going to completely change anything. And you see that branching path like Detroit had. It's just that every other path in Detroit was just a path to making you more angry, whereas this is more, path to more intrigue. But,
there's no raised fists in this game, I assume.
Oh, I didn't know it was online co-op.
Oh,
is it?
I mean, it says on the Steam page, online co-op, shared split-screen co-op, cross-platform multiplayer, and remote play together.
Sweet.
I think it's free on Game Pass on PC.
Yes,
and maybe on Xbox potentially.
Yeah, because I played it on cloud, so it must be on PC one, at least via the cloud.
Yeah.
But
by the way, you were asking. It's rotoscoping, by the way, which is the same technique that they use to make the lightsabers, which is just a drawing on each frame of a film is rotoscoping. But yeah, it's just.
I like it.
Yeah, very much more complicated than wow. Draw a green line on each frame.
I thought you was about to sing the theme.
Oh no!
Take on me, and you just didn't know it. And...
Yeah, that's how it goes. Wow.
Anyway, on to the next game.
We're gonna get fucking DMCA'd if we go any further.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to
luckily we started with wow, which, as established, is not correct.
just noises. Mouth noises.
So it's worth it, is what you're saying.
Sorry?
It's worth it, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, massively.
Yeah.
Always.
I mean, I'm hoping to reinvigorate my Game Pass.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, so basically, once I start using the Steam Deck, I'll want to reinvigorate my Game Pass and put it up to Ultimate so I can cloud stream.
Oh, the cloud. Yeah, it's certainly worth it for that.
Because otherwise, especially in this transitory moment, at some point I will have to pack a PC up and then live off of my tablet or my work computer when I go to the place where it is and acquire it. Because I've had a computer for a week and a half. It's just been in my office, which I haven't been in since the first.
Get an office.
It's a shared office, but it is permanent space for me, which is the first time I've had that in my academic career.
A lot of the plebs just get moved around, so we're hot desking, so count yourself lucky. So, another thing that's coming to Game Pass it's on PC Game Pass, it's coming to consoles, is Norco, which 5 out of 5 stars for me on that one.
Nice.
It's more of a visual novel. It's got point and click elements in it. I love the vibe and the setting. I mean, it's set in Louisiana and the bayou. Just really immersive visuals and sound effects for especially for a point and click adventure. But yeah, it sort of does the kind of magical realism kind of, not tropes, but kind of approach to narrative that Kentucky Route Zero has. It's got I guess it's set in the future, nearish future, so I guess it's
that's so
sci-fi-ish. But yeah, it's just tells, it's throwing a lot of things up in the air, like capitalism, cults, debt. Yeah.
And you finished
everything
it?
Bad in the world. I finished it. Yeah, I started it earlier this year on PC.
Yeah, I thought I remember you briefly talking about it before.
Mm-hmm. And then I really wanted to get back to it. I was like, I don't want to play on my PC because I was just working at the time. But then it went on sale on Steam. I was like, why not?
Yeah,
playing it on my Steam Deck. Yeah, because it's coming to Game Pass in a month. So it's But I don't have any regrets about paying £6 for it, because it's a fantastic video game.
It is currently £9.11 at 20% off until the 25th of September.
Nice.
Okay.
Steam has a new thing, because I went to its page, and it says, "Is this game relevant to you? ? This game doesn't look like other things you've played in the past. As such, we don't have much information on whether or not you might be interested in it." And how long has Steam had...
That's been there for a while.
I mean,
yeah.
Is it also on the client, and I just ignored that section every time?
Possibly.
Well, interestingly, mine comes up. I've just gone onto the page. Norco, again, was one of the games on my list that I'd like to get to this year. And it comes up saying, similar to games you played, Return of the Obra Dinn.
Oh, so yeah, you outed me as still not having played Return to the Obra Dinn.
Yeah, is it like pixel art? I don't know. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's good to look at, I guess. Maybe that's the... yeah, I'm trying to... Well, I've got augmented Steam. Cheapest... Yeah, historical low was £5.69, so that's how much I paid for it.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Recommend it even for £9.11. So, yeah, I really like that game. It's what it's going to be. I'll talk about it later in the year. It's probably, it will be on my top 10. Back to the list. Immortality, which I won't say much about because it's very narrative focused. That's the Sam Barlow game.
Right. I was going to double check,
yeah.
And I could go anywhere between, let's say, 2 and 4 stars on any given day for it.
Interesting, because the Besties lot really liked it.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot of things I like, and then there's a lot of things I don't think are good. But the commitment to like actually filming and making like time period films from like the 70s and 90s and stuff like that, it's phenomenal. And like the actors are fantastic. The actually piecing together like the actual plots of those 3 movies is really fun. Like there's intrigue in that. When I'm not going to spoil it, so don't worry, everyone. But the kind of meta narrative under that is interesting. I liked it. I like trying to piece out what that was. I think there are holes in it, so it's like even coming to your own, conclusion can be satisfying. But it didn't feel as satisfying in Immortality as in, say, like her story, because there were still holes in my understanding of it. So I don't think that's as satisfying as it could be.
Right.
And then the meta-narrative under that, which is basically how the developers feel, I think it's kind of like pretentious and too arty for my opinion. It's just like also holes in that. So it's like on 3 levels, it's like once you start stripping away it, that's what strips away the stars for me. So,
right.
But there's still so much to like, and it's one of those I respect it far more than I enjoy the story, the meta narrative that was being told. So,
right.
But I thought, if you're a hippie art student, you'll absolutely love it.
I did. I messaged you when you were playing it after I realised it was on as a phone available game through Game Pass.
Yeah, don't play
as well with touchscreen controls, and you were like, don't play it like that. Play with a pad.
Yeah. And I'm actually quite glad when I first played it. I think I can't remember if it was on PC, but I just got it up on my Xbox, and like to just see the filmmaking, how good those films look, considering that they're aping these styles of film in like the 70s and late 90s and stuff. It's just you genuinely like have to catch yourself and remember you're not actually watching a real film. You know what I mean? It's like, this actually never came out. This is actually not a real production. It's a video game. And it's really neat. And there's stuff with the haptics on the controller and the feedback and the vibration. There's audio cues, but you need a controller, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. And it's nice to just sort of think, wow, it's better than watching it on this sort of like 5-inch screen.
I think that's doing a talk about art and everything. Yeah. I'm not Tom Cruise, but that would be doing a disservice to the filmmaking process that's gone on behind that game, because that's the best thing about it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that'd be a shame to play it that way.
Nice. I mean, again, you're not quite like James Cameron levels of saying, well, if you've watched Avatar just on a normal television, you haven't actually watched Avatar.
Yeah. No,
it's just you won't be able to appreciate.
I watched that crap film on like a dodgy stream, and it's still crap. Doesn't matter if I've seen
I will say with Avatar, it's not a good movie from any point except the development and use of the technology. Which, if you then watch without the technology, you got nothing. Like, I saw it opening day or weekend in like an IMAX 3D fancy place, and it was jaw-dropping, and I was like, oh, 3D could be a thing. And then it turns out to make it to that quality takes a lot of money and also awareness, and most of the 3D films that followed weren't even filmed in 3D, they were post-produced, and so they were all crap, and 3D died.
It always gave me a headache, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, that's also a thing, right? But yeah, it's really dumb how they like all pushed the technology, except it needed content, and then the people making the content cut the worst corners possible.
I remember that
those
game.
Fancy cameras, don't worry about them.
That game Puppeteer, which I only got about halfway through. Like Tom PS3, but I had a 3D TV not because I bought it for 3D. It's just that they all came with 3D.
Yeah, it was the era where if you bought a TV, you paid for 3D. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like put the glasses on once, and I was like, "This looks okay," but I'm playing a video game. So I don't want to, have to like look through 3D glasses to be able to play a video game. Which you can. You can't just play that game in 2D. All right.
I mean,
absolutely, and it's absolutely fine like that.
Did you finish it, Ben? Or did you? Sorry. Did you play it / finish it, Ben?
I played The Puppeteer. Whether I finished it or not, because that's 6 or 7, if not.
I think it's longer than
9 or 10 years. Actually, it's a PS3 game,
like
isn't it?
years. Yeah, I thought you.
So it must be like hours. 10 years ago, maybe.
Jeez.
I definitely played it, and it's great. I love the concept of it. But, I don't know. I don't know whether I finished it. I think it probably came out at a time not towards the end of the PS3's life, but it was definitely towards the kind of like the back quarter of the PS3 in the last couple of years of PS3.
For sure, it definitely did. Yeah,
and I think I got it as a PS Plus game, so that even further. Or even like closer to now than it was kind of on from its release.
I thought it was like a 2012 or maybe even 2013 game.
Jeez, I'm sure we can find that out. So.
Yeah, it's got Google. It was 2013. Yeah, it was like 2 months before PS4 came out.
Okay, so 9 years ago. Yeah, but it was good. It was good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
If it's on that PlayStation Plus, I recommend it to people.
I don't know. I did download today Paw Patrol something on PS Plus because I was scrolling through it thinking, I've nearly finished Guardians of the Galaxy. What can I play next? And Evelyn went, there's a Paw Patrol game. I went, yeah, there is.
No, she didn't. She was at school. We know it's for you, Ken. Don't have to be ashamed.
Again, there's a couple of things on there that I'm like, I could just delve into and have a little bit of a play about with and stuff. And as soon as it was Paw Patrol came, she's like, is that a game? I'm like, yeah. Can we play it? Yeah. So that is the one I downloaded today.
Very nice.
I'll report
is it
back
any
next
good?
week if we get. We haven't played it.
I want an in-depth review of Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
By next week. Written, please. Double space.
Written. Okay. Yes, I have time for that, of course. Let's move on and keep rolling through these games, Lucy.
Yeah, I'll pick up the pace. Tinykin, which is on Getting Past. I think that's a very good child-friendly game. It's the Pikmin-like.
Yeah.
From Nintendo. I'd give that a solid 3.5 stars. It's mindless in the good way, where it's just like you're going around this Honey, I Shrunk the Kid house. And you're a very small person, a small little Pikmin, and yeah, it's a collect one without being that vapid and soulless. It's a good, fun little platformer. Okay. I'll talk about that next week because the embargo's up on that next week. Ooh. There's a little itch.io game called Factory that I played, which is like Factoria with Scrabble letters, just making shapes of letters.
It's Factory with an I at the end, right?
Yeah. It's coming to Steam. I recommend checking it out on Steam because on itch, I bought it because I was just like, I need to play this game. This is right up my alley, and it was satisfactory for that afternoon, but it's not a lot of levels to it. I mean, the concept is very limited, to be honest. So it's like there's only 26 letters in the alphabet. Maybe if they put like Greek letters in it or something like that, then
potential though for a game coming from itch to be slightly bigger going onto Steam as well.
Yeah. And hopefully they'll update the itch version. So yeah, but fun little thing. The Artful Escape, because that was leaving Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
2 out of 5 stars. It's basically a very pretty screensaver.
Okay.
Talking about what it means to be an artiste or whatever, just without being anything deep or involved or affecting. It's not like that.
Okay.
What was that game last year? Behind the Frame. That's the one.
Yes.
That literally made me cry.
That's great. That game's great.
Yeah. And that commented on like what it means to be, be an artist or a painter or whatever. Yeah. But the Artful Escape, Lost Words Beyond the Page was played the same day as the Artful Escape because it was always also leaving Game Pass that day. 4 out of 5 stars. It made me cry.
Oh,
even though that's not hard. That's why I put it off for so long because I knew the conceit of the game.
What's it called? Sorry, Lost Words
Beyond the Page, which is a platformer, and it's basically the story of. It's about grief and losing someone, and it's basically this young girl processing her grief by writing in her diary and writing a story, and it's just like, yeah. So 4 out of 5 stars. I was like, why am I crying?
I'm just all kinds of reasons.
Broken.
It's like there's all kinds of reasons for us to have emotions, and often we need excuses to outlet them. This is the explanation of why something like a really crappy TV show that is like poorly written and poorly acted can still make you cry because you're in that moment. You're like, your brain's like, I can release the valve because there's a notion of sadness. And you're like, why would I cry at this? It's not that it's making you cry.
Why would I cry at this Channel 5 Christmas movie?
Yeah.
One of the, interestingly, so Lost Words is a game, again, from last year that I think that I had in my kind of list of things to sort of look at but never got around to. Mm-hmm. Having a quick look on Steam, there's a page of the journal that the character keeps, and above it is a box of matches just called Goose Matches, and it's got the goose from fucking Goose Game on the front of it, that exact goose just going. So that 10 out of 10 done.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Love Free, which is a platformer, precision platformer, good for speedrunners. There's been Love 1 and Love 2. There's just neat little indie games that probably take an hour.
Oh, sorry, Love 3, not Love Free.
Yeah, sorry. THRs, I struggle. It's a series of games, platformers. The USP is that you can set a checkpoint wherever you are, really. Just precision platformers.
Nice.
Popular speedrunners. Buy Love Free if you're interested, because it comes with 1 and 2. So,
bonus.
Yeah, I think he's done that with all the games. Like every game that he's put out, the previous games have been in there, which is nice, and they're very cheap. So, Return to Monkey Island. It's a Monkey Island game. It's good, 5 stars.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it for the short one.
You've got 10 minutes to roll through the full reviews.
The full reviews, I'll I'll just talk about Gerda, A Flame in Winter, which is the one from publisher Don't Nod.
Oh, yeah.
Again. Which is I don't know what it is, but I like the setting of, like, World War II in games. I don't know what it is. Like, in certain, gosh, was it Valiant Hearts? I think that was World War 1, though.
Oh, yeah.
I like that kind of, actually telling stories that aren't just like, yes, we are the British, or yes, we are Americans who turned up late anyway, and, like, we are the saviors. Personal stories.
It's why Valiant Hearts hits kind of, like, so well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It actually tells different stories. That's why I can't remember if Battlefield 5 or 1 or whichever one it is. All the different stories from, like, all the different soldiers and stuff. It's just, I like that kind of storytelling and that kind of, lens on conflict and stuff like that. But, yes, this is from a developer called Porterplay. And it's a isometric, it's more of a narrative-based game. It's more of a visual novel, you'd call it. It tries to introduce some RPG mechanics, like dice rolls and speccing up in certain. I think there's only 3, like, kind of. I think there's wit, compassion, and gosh, what's the other one? Like intuition or something like that. But and picking different dialogue options will level you up in one of those different categories. But I don't think it matters to. It does matter a bit, because say if you don't have enough wit, you don't unlock this potential response or this and that. But usually, if you have, because it's like you kind of dox them, and as soon as you use it, they're like consumables. It's like if your wit is free going into this like dialogue thing, and then you have to use this one option is it 1 wit. It doesn't mean that you need at least level 1 wit. It means if you use that dialogue option, it'll take 1 wit from your.
Oh, interesting.
So that is interesting, but
almost like a fatigue mechanic to a character. Like, I've been so witty today. Oh my god, I'm so tired now.
Yeah. But I don't think any of the options had a point where you'd have to like spec out a certain, character trait so much where it would be like, okay, I use where you haven't actually think about it a lot and have to make those hard decisions and that opportunity cost. Like, it seemed like I was still able to pick most of the dialogue options I wanted. It didn't seem like they were being punishing in that way, which is nice into a certain effect, because it's like, I just, if you don't want a hardcore RPG kind of mechanic to it, it's okay, it's a bit breezier. I think this game had different difficulty levels, so did it? I've played so many games, I'm like conflating which one did I play? It wasn't the Monkey Island monkey mode. I know that one, which is the hard mode in that game. Yeah, there might have been different difficulty modes. Or am I thinking of Road Warden? This is the problem playing too many games.
Yes, Road Warden as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'll talk more about that next week, because I'm very, very early on.
Be the Lucy episode part 2 next week.
I mean, that sounds great.
I don't think there is any difficulty levels in this one. There's obviously, you can replay the game and see what other paths you could go down. And to the game's credit, there are different paths that go down. The saying of the game is World War II. It's 1945, so just a few months before the war's going to end. You play as someone who's got both Danish. Sorry, Sweden, Dane. Everyone from Scandinavia. You're basically half Danish, half German, and you're living in this village which is under the occupation of Germany, Nazi Germany, and you obviously got conflict from people who were like, okay, because it was only under what's fascinating about this game, it gives you, like Valiant Hearts, it gives you like actual history in like
nice.
In like unlockables and stuff like that, which come naturally. I don't think you have to collect them or anything; they just come throughout the story, and that just provides great amount of context. And yeah, I learned a lot. I actually learned something from this game. But
that's great.
Yes, basically she's her father is German, and he's actually joined like the Nazi movement in Denmark, and her mother was Danish, and she like left the family, left their father because of his choice to join the Nazi party. But so, and yeah, it's about her. Her husband is involved in a like terrorist plot to overthrow the Nazis, and it's about rescuing him whilst having to deal with townspeople and their politics, individual politics of the town, deal with the Gestapo and stuff like that. And there's many different paths that you can go down, and many different people that you can choose to help or choose to side with. Like you can side with one of the Nazi officers. You can make sure that this woman who's fled from Germany with her kid get across the border to Sweden and stuff like that. So because they're Jewish, but there's sort of many little intricate little stories that are happening, and they all come to like they all intersect right at the end, and it's like the choices that you've made determine what happens in the end. I don't think I got a great ending.
Okay.
I think I messed up. But that's a good thing about it. It's like it still commits. It's like I think it gives you just a little bit of leeway to like kind of try and change your trajectory towards the ending. But it'll also just it'll stick with you got this ending. It's like there are casualties of war, obviously, so I didn't feel too bad about it.
And it's not necessarily, it's maybe not a game that it's kind of like the good or bad ending. It is just, this is the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is the story that has been told through the decisions that you have made.
Yeah, and you accept it more in this because it's like, yeah, bad stuff went down during that time. Not everyone made it out. It's kind of, sobering in that sense to think about that. And it's like, yeah, a lot of people suffered during that conflict, and damn.
Like with that, what's the tone of the game? Because obviously things like Sniper Elite, it's like, hey, it's an action game. You can just put a bullet through all of the fucking Nazis,
balls,
and explode people, and all of this sort of stuff. And then Valiant Hearts, whilst it was like touching in many ways, had a very light-hearted kind of element to it, especially through the kind of like the animation and aesthetic style of it. This, whilst it seems like stylized in a not similar to Valiant Hearts, but it's got a little bit more of a cartoony kind of element to it.
Yeah.
A lot of the screenshots are very dark, it's very dim. It kind of pulls the light level down, which would sort of suggest it's maybe a little more kind of drama than anything else. Yeah,
I think the art style is like, the textures are probably by design and stylistically like a little muddy. They're very like they look low res. I played it on Steam Deck, so it's still pretty decent picture quality, but yeah, I really like the art style. It kind of reminds me of like Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh, really?
Like that kind of isometric look and all the like, wooden looking character people. You know what I mean? I like it. I don't know, but it's it's definitely going for a somber tone. It's not okay. We're purposely trying to, pull at your heartstrings or something. I think it's more to educate about the time period more so than be something that's gonna make you cry. You know what I mean? It's like, as I say, you're dealing with real life events and stuff like that. It's like, yes, you can be over the top and shoot Nazis in the balls like Sniper Elite, but this is very much taking a more, respectful kind of tone, more somber, not overly sad, obviously. But yeah, it's sort of like a Jane Austen kind of not overly dour, but like talking about political, conflict within like inner communities rather than the war overall. Because they even say like in like how it's just like they were just like not completely but mostly disconnected from the war because basically Nazi Germany gave Denmark clemency because they were able to because the government just like collapsed on the first day of the invasion. They were just like, do whatever you want. So it's like the real bad stuff didn't happen, So it's like bad stuff still happened, but not the worst stuff. So it's still, it's like set in a very small village. It's like it only affects you until it's on your doorstep, basically, and that's what these characters are dealing with.
Like I absolutely love the idea that it is set in Denmark as well. I have absolutely no knowledge about what happened to Denmark during kind of like World War II, and like it really interesting to expand on kind of just and as you said, Lucy, not just that like view from that standard narrative that we get around these sort of very big historic events. It's almost like there's a whole separate war that happened like in Finland,
absolutely,
right? About it during World War II. I'd love a story set like there and all around that. So it's really like I hadn't even considered fucking Denmark in World War II. So super interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like we just only have the very jingoistic like England did this, we beat the Nazis.
Absolutely.
That kind of rubbish.
Absolutely.
So it's like just to hear stories from different places. It's just I love games that do that, and this is one that I really enjoyed it. I'm not I wasn't overly intrigued about the overarching plot. It was more I'm learning something. You know what I mean? I really appreciated that about the game. Yeah, it's just I probably won't play through it again because I don't tend to with narrative games. I just think like that's what I'm sticking with. Those are the decisions I made, whatever the outcome. So, but it's one of those where you could absolutely replay it and see what the different outcomes would be. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Nice, good, perfect. A good place for us to stop then for this week. Lucy, just remind us, it was called Gerda with a subtitle to it.
Yes, A Flame in Winter.
Cool.
Yeah,
and that's not a Don't Nod developed game. It's a Don't Nod published game.
Yeah, Porter Play are the developers.
Interesting. Yeah. I didn't realise Don't Nod kind of published.
No, I guess because most of the stuff that we know of Square Enix, but Gerda. Maybe if they branch into that and start telling small stories like this, I'm all for it. So it was about 6 hours. It was a good time on a Sunday, I think, and so recommend it.
Nice, perfect. So let's finish there for this week and jump back into our beers for the episode. Aadil, I will come back to you. I know it was only a 330ml can. You maybe finished it a little while ago, but how was the Beerbliotek?
It was excellent as always from our friends in Beerbliotek. I think everything I said stands. I just think that I think the way I described it made it seem simple, but there's depth, and that curve between the sort of maltier notes in the finish and that sort of peak tropicality in the beginning are like. Both of those things were there the whole time, and so it's not like a one note moving to another note. So that's the only thing I wanted to clarify. Everything else, I think, basically stayed the same. I think my palate acclimatized, and I got a little more of the tropical in the middle, which sort of fleshed it out a bit. And that's it. Otherwise, solid beer. Would recommend any time of the year, but especially in the summer, which still exists.
Does it? Is it?
Well, it exists in the fact that it will come around again.
Are you sure about that?
I mean, the sun will exist. This rock we're on probably will still orbit it.
Yeah,
Whether the rock is habitable, let alone habited, is a different question.
Sure.
Brilliant. The Arbor then, with the Liquid Light Brewing Company collaboration. The flavour is almost exactly the same now, right at the end, as it was at the start. Nothing has faded that much. And I think that's partly down to it being a bigger beer, right? Being 8.5%, that they've been able to maintain that flavour and had almost no drop off at all. It does get a little bit sweeter the more your palate becomes acclimatized to it. So the last sip, you do get that honeydew melon, but the sweetness from the papaya is much more prominent now. You're getting a lot more of that because, again, my palate has balanced out all of those flavours just that little bit more. The white peach has always gone completely, so it's interesting in how that flavour has shifted slightly. And because of that shift in flavour, if this had been what I'd have experienced right at the start, I would have absolutely said, oh, this is an 8% beer. It feels bigger now than it did in that initial kind of flavour. And like we never really get into we talk a lot about how a beer changes through its flavour, but we never get into the idea of why it changes kind of through its flavour. I've got no idea. We're not going to get into that conversation now.
I was going to say,
something that we should, and I would love to explore at some point. Like, why now, as my palate has acclimatized, am I like, well, here is now like 2 out of the 3 flavors, and it's changed the beer so much that it's like, oh no, yeah, it is an 8% beer. If I'd have been sharing this, I'd have a very different perception.
Oh, right, of course,
of this beer to what I have now. If I'd have had half of it, if I'd have had a third of it, if we'd have shared it between the 3 of us, I would think completely differently about this beer than I do now, having had the entire can.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Yeah. But maybe we can explore that at another point. If, friends, you have had a can that says you should probably share it with a friend and you drank it yourself and you want to tell us about it, you can do so at Tanked Up Cast on the socials. You can join us on the Discord and talk to us about beers and video games. Hit one of us up to get a link for that. I'm at Nova_47. Aadil is
at the Omniarch.
And Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9.
And for everything else, you can go to outoflives.net to look at all the articles that go up, see gameplay videos, streams, first looks that Aadil does, and look at our faces and look at the beers that we have been drinking in the video format. And you can do that on YouTube as well. I think that is everything. If you really like the podcast, even if you just like it a little bit, you should go to your podcast service of choice and rate and review us as high as you feel that we should have.
No, Ben. It's all rigged. The only 5-star reviews count. Otherwise, it's actually worse than not reviewing it at all.
Yeah.
But also like, subscribe, comment, etc. Do the thing that your platform allows you to do that supports the channel. And if that platform is the world, tell a friend that this thing was mildly entertaining at some point. And
tell them that they indulged me for an hour just to talk about video games. I've played. Yeah, tell them. That's 5 stars. I think that's
exactly that. Exactly. Perfect. So that rounds us out for this week. Thank you for joining us. We love you, as always. For this week, we've been Tanked Up. Goodbye.
Goodbye now.
I'm sorry, I'm just reeling from the fact that I actually heard Lucy say goodbye this time instead of being like, I think now I can say the thing, because I think she's not saying a thing, which was last year's takeaway. Last week's year's. Good Lord. Anyway, bye!
www.outoflives.net